I got a little video today. This is some stuff I was reading up, like with Harvey, Oregon, and Silver Doctors posted a nice little article on this. And again, to start with, not that this matters because again, the market is set by the pieces of paper, but we have had approximately a 14% increase in the price of silver in a matter of about a week. That is a huge percentage to gain in about a week's time. Again, it's set by the paper market, so take that with a grain of salt. However, there are major problems, and I just heard of one recently that two different orders between, one was like 5 million and one was around 10 million or something like that ounces worth of silver tried to get delivered on the LBMA, which is the largest exchange, similar to the COMEX, except it's in London, which is the gold and silver metals capital of the world, and they were refusing to deliver, make good on the order, unless they leave it in a member bank, a member LBMA bank. Then they'll transfer it. Now, how I take that is the same thing as if, let's just say, you had $1 million in your bank account and you are moving to another bank. Now keep in mind, pretty much all banks in America, matter of fact, I'm not even gonna say pretty much, I'm pretty sure all of the banks are member banks of the Federal Reserve, the Federal Reserve System. So if you had $1 million in your bank and you said, I want to take my money out and move it over to so-and-so bank, if you try to go into that bank and say, listen, I need $1 million in cash right now, or I'll give you a week or two, I need $1 million in cash because I'm leaving it, taking it out of your bank and going to another bank, they will not give you the money, the cash. What they will do is write you a bank check, and it's good for $1 million. Take this to your new bank, which is not the same company, and a whole another bank, and then deposit that check for $1 million in your new bank account. They're not going to give you cash. So then what you'd ultimately have to do is say, well, okay, now I'm at my new bank, can I have my $1 million out? They're going to fight you tooth and nail to not take the actual cash out. They want to give you the paper check that just says on numbers you have this amount in your bank account, and then use your debit card and all that stuff, so it stays within the Federal Reserve System, if you will. That's how I take what happened in the LBMA. If this is true, and I'm hearing a lot of major people talking about this, that it is true, they are refusing to deliver physical silver in an order around 5 million and 10 million ounces of silver, and they said the only way we'll do this is if you basically leave it inside the system. I don't want to leave it in the system. I want it out of the system. I want it in my hands. No, you got to leave it in one of our banks. Why? Because it doesn't exist. It's what we've been screaming at for years now. It does not exist. They can't make it exist, so they're telling you just leave it in our system. In other words, let us give you a warehouse receipt that says you have it and you own it, but we're going to keep it at my place. Remember Friday, the movie Friday I referred to, when he wants his bike back from the bully? It's kind of like it's both of ours. We'll just keep it over at my place. That's what the LBMA and the bankers are telling people. You want to pull out 5 million or 10 million ounces? Nah, why don't you keep it at one of our member banks? It's kind of like it's both of ours. We'll just keep it over here. As a matter of fact, it's not both of ours. We'll give you the paper that says you own it, and on paper you have it. When you log into the account, it shows you have it. But in reality, we have it. It's in our possession. It's not yours. However, they don't even have it either. That's why they don't want to give it up, because there's nothing to give. And it would expose them immediately, and immediately we would see silver and gold absolutely skyrocket out of control. Having said that, Harvey, Oregon joined Silver Doctors again for the explosive interview discussing this week's breakout in gold and silver, the developing tremendous physical shortage in the silver market, and concerns with unallocated gold and silver accounts, which Harvey describes as nothing but paper notes and obligations. There's a video on this, his interview. It's kind of terrible quality on the opposite side, Harvey's, and honestly what I'm going to read you is exactly what he said. I mean, the fine points, you really don't need to go listen to it. I was going to post it as a link, but it's not necessary. I'm going to give you everything you need to know right here. Harvey also discussed recent reports that the LBMA was refusing to deliver outside of the LBMA system, the silver. They won't deliver it outside of the system because there is no silver. Of course, that's exactly why. That's a real crisis. The moment London is out of metal, which is pretty much right now, the COMEX will be out in a nanosecond, because the COMEX is small compared to the LBMA. Now you know why everyone's allocated accounts have been raided and they get nothing back, or they have serial numbers that did not match the original serial numbers, because they had to use that to put these fires out on the market. And then, okay, it slowed back down. Now put the gold and silver back in these people's accounts, even with different serial numbers. How is that possible? You guys had lock boxes. You can't get into the lock boxes. I only have the key. Wrong. He discusses Romney's threat to fire Bernanke if Romney wins. He's been saying that, and what it means to the Fed monetary policy prior to the elections. The Republican Party's announcement, or I should say, and the Republican Party's announcement recently of a gold commission with the goal of returning the U.S. to a gold standard will be the official Republican policy, and much more. The doc's full must-listen-to interview with Harvey Organ is below. And again, if you want to see it, just go to www.silverdoctors.com. It'll probably be one of the first ones on the site. When asked about this week's big moves in gold and silver and whether we are witnessing the start of a historic rally in the metals arena, Harvey responded, "No question. The key development that Ned Naylor Leland discovered is this big physical purchase of silver that has to be settled inside of the LBMA. They're refusing to settle outside. They won't deliver it out of the system because there is no silver. That's a real crisis. I've always advised the CFTC that the moment London is out of metal, the COMEX will be out in a nanosecond. It will travel across the pond as quickly as possible and could cause a default on the COMEX. This is why you're seeing massive movements of silver in the vaults all over the place. Every day there's been over 1 million ounces moving around. Whenever you start seeing that, then you know there's trouble. It's Peter robbing Paul to pay somebody else. It's just going on and on and on, and now it's finally coming home to roost. And our friends, the banks, JP Morgan in particular, have their hands full. Oh, I can imagine. Harvey goes on to discuss the physical shortage developing in the silver market. Eric Sprott, y'all know who he is, has not received his full silver purchase yet. I can't remember exactly how much, but he's still short on his order. He hasn't completed it as of last week. I'm telling you, there is a tremendous physical shortage out there, and it's reflected in the price rising, even with it manipulated, the price rising. The price of silver has been closing at its highs on the COMEX at COMEX closing time, basically at close, which is very positive. Now I expect a little raid on Friday, which was today, and it basically was flat, just barely was up a little bit, so that was not even a raid, which is good. The bankers are trying to quell the huge demand, so I expect a raid, which should have been today, maybe it'll be Monday, to try to smash the price down, because that shortfall for JP Morgan is just annihilating them. They have problems on their interest rate swaps, which are killing them. They have trillions of interest rate swaps that they're short, and they're short the 10-year T-bill. That's been hurting them because of the rate of movement of the yield caught them off guard. They lost on that. They lost on their IG9 London whale trade, and now the rise in silver prices. Lose, lose, lose again for JP Morgan. Yes, stick it to those bastards. That's 3 whammos against them, and they're sweating bullets. It's certainly reflecting now in the silver and gold prices. Harvey also discussed Ted Butler's recent comments that the other commercial banks have turned, or apparently have turned, on JP Morgan. And if you want to know what I'm about to read, what he's talking about is when I tell you guys, again, like what Harvey Organ talks about, or the silver doctors, because they always look at the COT reports, the COMEX, the COT report, what the short positions are from the commercial traders, what their long positions are, what the small traders are, etc. And then the big companies, not the banks, but the big companies, how many are short, how many are not, you know, how many are long. That's what he's talking about. So the commercials as a group, which is the big boys in that, the COT report, always go short. And when the big boy JP Morgan goes short, the rest of them go short. And of course it helps bring the price down. And what he's about to say here is he thinks, from the signs right now, that we just heard recently, and I even said it myself, it is interesting how many short positions the commercials have taken out recently. A pretty large amount. And then they did it again. And then they did it again. We're all getting ready for a slam. And then what happens this whole week? Silver's up practically around 13-14% in a week's time. Who were those commercials that went short? They just got a beating, by the way. And he's saying, I think the other commercials, not JP Morgan and HSBC and the boys, but the other commercials now realize we're at the end of the line. There's silver shortages behind the scenes. It's about to break loose sometime soon. Sorry, JP Morgan, we're abandoning ship. We are getting our hands on physical silver. At least even in the paper market, we're not going to be shorting it anymore. That would also explain why there have been day after day after day of near or at or even above 1 million ounces of silver being removed out of the several different vaults that the COMEX and the boys use. That's also in that report. I said it a few weeks ago. It's very interesting. 600 million this day, 600 million, or excuse me, 1,000, 600,000 this day, 650,000, 800,000, day after day after day. I'm like, holy crap. This is very unusual movement in the vaults. Who do you think's doing that? The other people who know are in the know or are getting theirs now, the physical now, so that when it blows up and all the paper gets destroyed, they've got theirs. And the bank friends or commercial friends of JP Morgan, the big short, are saying, look, we rode this with you for as long as it was. We rode this horse until it died, and it's dying. We're jumping off a little early so we can stock up on some silver. Sorry, JP Morgan, it's going to hurt because the prices are going to go up, basically. So he says, Ted Butler, they're all trying basically for their survival. Ted Butler calls them the Raptors. The two major guys in silver and gold, the paper markets, are JP Morgan and HSBC. They're the kingpins. Now the other guys are saying basically, we've got to survive ourselves. We're out of here. We're not playing that game anymore with you guys. You can just see them going in themselves and purchasing. And you'll notice that on the COMEX, the open interest, which is what I was telling you about, these big purchases, has been trending different than gold. The open interest in gold is near its low for 3 years, yet the open interest in silver is near its high record, or record high. This explains, or will explain, why there's certain guys in the know who are taking on our boys, JP Morgan, the two big guys, which would be JP Morgan and HSBC. It is very exciting to watch, he says. The SLV went up for the first time in quite a while today, about 1.5 million ounces. And I don't mean today, it may have been yesterday from when I'm reading this, by about 1.5 million ounces. So in other words, they just found 1.5 million ounces for the SLV. Yeah, okay. The GLD has been rising every day. I don't think it's real. It's just paper going in, but that's a different matter. I've always stated that the GLD and SLV are absolute frauds. If you open up in their vaults, you're going to see nothing but paper notes and obligations, and maybe a tiny, tiny bit of gold and silver. Nowhere near what they need to satisfy those paper claims. The poor shareholders are going to end up with nothing when this implodes. Harvey also discusses Romney's threat to fire Bernanke and what it means to Fed monetary policy prior to the elections. The Republicans Party their announcement that a gold commission to return the U.S. to a gold standard will be official Republican policy, and they're all fixing to go with that. Now, it has nothing to do, as far as I can tell, with Ron Paul, of course, who should be leading this train. You know, he should be at the head of the GOP. But they know Ron Paul's a true hero, true American type of person, not one of the cabal, not one of the club. So they're not going to let him get in that position. So this to me, when I hear Romney saying that, to me, what that tells me, honestly, because I know politicians, is that he's saying that, and I don't truly think he means it. I really don't. He's saying it to get votes. He's saying it to get in that position. And as soon as he's in that position, I don't think for 1 second he will fire Romney. the gold standard thing with the gold commission. Now that's interesting. I don't know where he would go with that either. Again, it doesn't sound right because remember, they want new world order, one world currency. It's going to be their currency, the elite's currency, backed by gold. Therefore, if they have their own currency that they want the whole world to use, backed by gold, and that'll be the reason everyone needs to use it. Hey, we got gold backing ours. You guys have nothing. And look what happened, and the whole worldwide implosion just happened. Come use our stuff. This is where you should put your money. And by the way, you owe us all the money anyways because we were the ones holding the bonds the whole time. So we can't have them want to pull that agenda and at the same time have America, who they're trying to destroy currently, because we're going to have to be in that new world order too, and we are the biggest debtor nation on the face of the earth, so we'd be the first one to them to say, hey, yeah, I think we'll go ahead and get on that since we owe you guys so much money in these bonds and we just imploded our whole economy. We'll go use yours. Why would we go do that if we now have our own gold-backed currency? So either A, this is nothing but nonsense talk, which is what my gut tells me because he's just another politician, or B, there's something behind this that's actually true, and somehow he really will fire Bernanke and really will get into the gold standard thing with the gold commission created to handle that. I don't think so, but it could happen. And if that does happen, the new world order can kiss itself goodbye. It's going to kiss itself goodbye later on anyway. It's just a matter of how it gets kissed goodbye. Through violent revolution or what's taking place right now if Romney and them hold true to what they're saying. So, just wanted to share that with you. It's Friday. Have a good weekend and whatnot. And I will talk to you guys later.